scenario, and we had this scenario, and this is what I told Flip. Flip and I got on somebody else one time for doing the same exact thing that Flip did. We tore the other person ass up. Like, yo, fam, you ratted on somebody low key based on something that you couldn't do that they did. Mind your business. So Flip now could have potentially taken a privilege away from Mark going forward because he pointed out, yo, you let Mark do it, but you ain't let me do it. Now you could now go to Mark and be like, yo, dog, I can't let you do that no more because Flip complained about it. That's now hating on Mark's freedoms and privileges. No.
Yo, what's good, elevators? It's your boy back with another episode of JBP Elevated, breaking down everything happening on the Joe Budden podcast and all the co-host energy on and off the pod. Man, I gotta say, this whole spring forward situation is throwing me completely off. I'm over here thinking I've got time to record a couple videos, and suddenly it's almost 8 o'clock already. Whoa, hold up. But anyway, guys, I wanted to dive into this part because I noticed a lot while Ish was explaining what went down. First off, Ish wouldn't have even called Flip to talk about this if he hadn't gone through the same situation with him before. He knew that was the only way Flip would actually see what was going on. And since Flip was part of it, conveying the situation became way easier. If Ish and Flip didn't have that experience with Melissa, there's zero reason Ish would have called him. I had to clear that up. Secondly, I find it hilarious that every time Ish has something to say to a co-host like this, he remembers a past moment where he either said something or stayed quiet, calling out the contradiction. Every single one of them up there is watching each other's moves like hawks. Here's why it all makes sense. Flip, you're over there trying to take away a privilege Mark earned, and that's the key point. Mark can do what he does because of what he brings to the show. Flip, you know this firsthand. The Melissa situation showed that you were getting more perks than anyone else, at least in perception. What cracks me up is that everyone notices everyone else's moves, but nobody's really thinking about why people can do what they do. Early on, Flip was boosting the JBP energy, grinding overtime with extra content. He was reacting on his own channel about what went on at JBP, giving the brand more recognition and engaging with the fans. Flip started breaking the fourth wall to the point where we're now engaging with the podcast the way we do. Think back to when it was just Roy, Joe, and Maul. The fans engaged with YouTube and Patreon, but we didn't step outside to create content explaining the pod. That all started when Flip began sharing what he saw behind the scenes, making us want to speak up too. So yes, because you built that fan engagement, you're earning privileges nobody else up there is getting. And here's the thing. People tend to watch before they even ask, meaning they don't hit up Joe for the stuff they see other castmates getting. But when they see others getting it, they just assume, oh, should I be mad about this? Even if they couldn't do it themselves. They're asking, what are you doing that this dude's doing on the show? Flip started all of that, getting paid while on suspension, missing Patreon days, and still getting paid like he was present. That's his main gripe. Why can't people see Mark doing the exact same thing? He's on Podwise without even bringing his wife, moderating the show, showing up at BTS, turning the Ian and Mark show into an actual show, hitting JBP Rewind, and delivering the serious news that needs coverage. He's the reason politics even gets spoken on the pod. Back when CO was happening with Dr. Fauci, it was a rare moment, not a regular thing. Now, every show covers political happenings, and that came because of Mark. So if I'm doing everything Flip was doing and even adding more, why wouldn't I get more privileges than everyone else? And let's be clear, not everyone has young kids. Ice does, but he doesn't have primary custody like Mark does. And we can't even complain about Mark missing episodes because Flip does the exact same thing. Which is why when Melissa called out Flip, she should have looked in the mirror and asked, what am I actually providing to the podcast? But here's the twist. Joe is trying to bring Sasha back while keeping Mona up there to create the voice and face he originally wanted Melissa to be. Essentially, he's using two women to replace one. And let's be honest, I don't think Joe expected Melissa Ford wouldn't return to the pod. Credit where it's due, she didn't just roll up and start turning up. The podcast maintained the same views it had when she left. She realized, I can't do this shit. Even if she had contributed more and shared just one story about her video vixen days, she would have earned the same privileges she felt Flip was getting. To be fair, Melissa was often missing because she was shooting movies and doing other projects outside the podcast. That's why when she came back, they'd always comment on whether she was working or just on vacation while still trying to get paid. Now, if she was upset about not getting paid while off, that's a separate discussion. But the real question remains, what are you doing up here to actually earn those extra privileges? And here's the real takeaway. If you're watching the privileges I get, hopefully you're seeing the work I put in and starting to do the same if you want those perks. But we already know that's not happening. They're not paying attention for those reasons. They see it all as high school all over again. And when I compare life to high school, people roll their eyes. But I don't care about high school. Look closely. Whether it's work, social settings, sports, friends, or hobbies, you'll always see the same dynamics from high school show up in adult life. This whole cast acts like high school. They're watching each other and running to tell the boss, like Joe is the one actually implementing anything. Why run and tattle on him? Newsflash, they aren't. That's why every time Joe hears about talks happening outside the room, he's pissed at Ish and Flip. I guarantee it. He's not trying to get run out of anything. He's not trying to have people team up to squeeze free money from him. That's my next Patreon video where I break all of that down after checking the files. But all of this, today's scenario, was easy to break down because I had the clip. And this happens all the time. Everyone is watching everyone else's moves. Ice had to shut up talking to Flip about missing pods, showing up once a week because Flip snapped back, "Yeah, whatever, I'm probably still making more than you." But let me know what you think. Am I bugging? Is this a big deal? Something we should actually watch? Or just another thing to shrug off and keep moving? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and once again, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't. If you have, you already know how we roll. We're keeping this thing moving forward. Appreciate all the support, and I'll see you on Patreon. Peace. Yo, what's good, Elevators? It's your boy back with another episode of JBP Elevated, breaking down everything happening on the Joe Budden podcast and all the co-host energy on and off the pod. Man, I gotta say, this whole spring forward situation is throwing me completely off. I'm over here thinking I've got time to record a couple videos, and suddenly it's almost 8 o'clock already. Whoa, hold up. But anyway, guys, I wanted to dive into this part because I noticed a lot while Ish was explaining what went down. First off, Ish wouldn't have even called Flip to talk about this if he hadn't gone through the same situation with him before. He knew that was the only way Flip would actually see what was going on. And since Flip was part of it, conveying the situation became way easier. If Ish and Flip didn't have that experience with Melissa, there's zero reason Ish would have called him. I had to clear that up. Secondly, I find it hilarious that every time Ish has something to say to a co-host like this, he remembers a past moment where he either said something or stayed quiet, calling out the contradiction. Every single one of them up there is watching each other's moves.